training, learning, and development community. Let me make sure that I got all my levels right here. How are you this morning? Let me know if you can hear me okay. I'm using a little bit of a different setup. I'm using a mirrorless camera, which is hopefully the image is going to be a little better. And then I also changed up my my audio settings too. So if you're out there and you can hear me, let me know. Would love to be sure that this whole setup is working. All right, so this morning we're going to be talking about industry events. A lot has changed over the last few weeks about what's going on with events in our industry. And what I did was I kind of compiled a list of events that are coming up, events pretty much for the rest of 2020, and sort of, aggregated like what is still scheduled to happen, what got canceled, and what has been changed. So hopefully that'll be helpful for some folks that are still interested in going, or were interested in going to events this year. It's particularly compelling for me because, as many of you know, produced live events in the past. So this has kind of had an adverse effect on how I look at the training, learning, and development community overall, because I'm not sure what the future of events look like. So let's see, we've got a few people that have popped in already this morning. Hey, Kim. Hey, Alex. Hey, Mark. Hi, Ellen. Let me know if you can, if my video and my audio is working okay. I would love to, someone just give me the little thumbs up in the chat, because I have a new setup here. Oh, great. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Kim. Thanks for coming in this morning. So, and I also have some questions that I wanted to go over in the Q&A section. As you know, like with these community discussions, that's probably my favorite part, is just being able to talk to the group. And luckily, I'm just kind of like an unendingly like curious person. Hey, and good morning, Alex. Thanks for popping in. But I do have some questions in here that I'd like to go over. And if any of you want to come on screen, Mark or Kim or Alex, anybody, let me know. I'd love to have you on screen and just kind of go over some of these questions with you. But before we do all of that, let's just go through some of these things that that I have on my list of events that have that are coming up that have changed. Let me just share my screen real quick. I created a blog post, but I'm having some weird sort of site problems with my my content delivery network. But let me show you my blog post here. Can you guys see that okay? Okay. Yeah, CDN. Yeah, it's been a real pain. I've been using StackPath and there's some kind of certificate problem. Can I zoom in? I probably could. Yes, absolutely. Let me go ahead and just get here, and there we go. So there are a variety of things that, that are impacting how events are going to be taking place in the future. I mean, the one thing that I keep hearing over and over again is there's, it's going to be impossible to kind of just flip a switch and everything's going to go back to normal. It's just going to be a gradual thing. So we'll see what happens, right? What I have learned so far, and and I still do talk to other event producers in the industry. There are a lot of things in the latter part of the year that are still scheduled. They're just waiting to see. They're not making any decisions to change anything now. Some folks have already either changed or canceled their fall events, but a lot of the majors are still happening. Like for instance, let's see. Oh, like this top one, this one on June 15th. Hey, Jane, EdTech Week in London. I didn't, and maybe Jane, you could speak to this, but it looks like it's still scheduled to start on June 15th. And I was kind of surprised to see that one. That one was one of the earlier ones that is still scheduled. And as far as these events that are unchanged, and then Chicago, ATD Core 4, and maybe, Alex Salas, you can say, that's still happening in Chicago in July. And then I believe you're doing something in Nashville too in September, if I'm not mistaken. Learning Dev Camp taking place September in Salt Lake City. That's still scheduled. DevLearn in Las Vegas is still scheduled to happen in October. Tech Learn in October as well, in Austin. Learning 2020 in Orlando, Florida. That's still scheduled to happen in November. And then the I4PL 2020 in Toronto in November as well. Online Educa still happening in December in Berlin. And then I just threw Sherm down there just because those guys are one of the majors, out there in sort of ancillary to our industry, and they're still planning on doing theirs in San Diego in June. A lot of what these folks are doing is like you can still register for it and you won't get like penalized for canceling. That's one of the things that I've seen pretty regularly out there. But yeah, it's 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 interesting. Now, the events that have been canceled, as you guys know, like I think it would have been last week or 2 weeks ago, Learning Solutions got canceled in Orlando, and that was kind of one of the first of the major biggies that had to be changed, and they ended up having to cancel that pretty late in the calendar. That's a tough one. And ATT Ice is gone, yes, and I don't see any kind of, if they're going to do anything online for that one. Maybe Alex Salas, you might have an idea. Learning Technologies, that their summer event in June has been canceled. The Canadian e-learning conference in June as well. And then Impact 2020, which is, what was that one? Isn't that a Burson event? That was just in May, and that was canceled. I'm sort of surprised that that one isn't going to have a virtual component, but that may change. So yeah, this is pretty interesting to me. And then here are the ones that have changed. As you know, there was sort of an online event that kind of came out of the Learning Solutions Conference a couple weeks ago. The CLO Symposium, I probably should have put the dates on these that they were supposed to happen, but I didn't, sorry. CLO Symposium, that one got changed to a virtual event. The Canadian one is now virtual one. Oh, the Can eLearn, that one is changing to a virtual event. CHRO Exchange, I know that one's more of an HR one, but that one, looking at the program, they completely changed it to an online event. CLO Exchange went virtual. Training Industry Conference. Oh, yeah. This one. They changed the date of this one for Training Industry. They changed it to September. And I think it was supposed to happen either next month or in June, but it got changed to September. So that's still happening. The live component is, but they just pushed it out to September. And then Desire to Learn has a fusion event, and that one's going online this year as well. So it's kind of interesting. And just personally as an event producer, I had been working on, a live event for TLDC for 2020. And I was talking to a couple different folks that were interested in hosting us. And it was kind of going pretty well, but then all of this happened. And I actually back in January, I was a little concerned about it when I first started hearing about the pandemic. And I guess I'm kind of glad that I didn't move forward with planning something and putting all the deposits down and everything. But this is a tough time, and it's hard to imagine that hotels and airlines, airports, just travel in general, how all of that is just going to just come together to make things the way that they were. You know, in any kind of immediate fashion, because there's a lot that has to happen. I mean, just thinking about Las Vegas being completely empty right now, that is just, that thought is insane. Yeah, and thanks Kim. It's hard because it's not like there's a lot of, like, I have a ton of resources, so I had to be pretty smart about whether or not I was going to invest any money or time into planning this thing. So there's that. And again, I'm going to go ahead and close this screen. So, and bring myself back up. Let's see. Here we go. All right. Um, yeah, and Kim, you're right. One good thing is that if TLDC skips 2020, we won't be alone. I kind of want to do an online thing. I'm not gonna like, of course, it's not gonna be like a full-fledged conference. I'm kind of that whole model, I think, especially for online events, really needs to be revisited. And I think we've kind of been doing that with TLDC altogether. And I'm going to be talking about that a little bit later with, well, we'll talk about it right now. One of the events that I saw, let's see. I don't have it on here. Let's see. I think it is in my other thing. There is that, I saw that event. It's, what is it? The Learning and Development Conference, the online event. I'm not sure if any of you guys have seen that one. But it is one that was launched event. Here it is. I'm going to post this in chat. Learning and Development Conference. This one is really interesting to me. And that one is coming up. Let me pull that up and I'll do a share on that so you guys can just sort of check it out a little bit. Toddy Norum had actually pushed that one out to me, and let me share that so you can see it. Share. All right, so have you guys seen this one? This one's interesting. The L&D conference. Who was it? Here's the sessions. Well, actually, it's probably more interesting looking at the presenters. So here's what I like about this one is they are taking advantage of the fact that since it's virtual, you can just, you can just go and just globally get whoever. And what I also love about this program is that there is there's a large variety of speakers in our industry that come from sort of different segments, right? Because the way that I've always sort of seen stuff, and I've been around for way too long, but it always seemed like there were certain people that were like, really focused on guild stuff or really focused on ATD stuff or training industry or, even the folks that do like e-learning magazine. And they're always just sort of these pockets of experts that would sort of gravitate to specific associations or groups. And this one seems to span across a few of those. So I like that part of it. It's really interesting. The other thing that's interesting to me is that they're kind of doing something that I feel like TLDC was really kind of pioneering, which was, you don't have to have a single, event like over the span over 1 or 2 or even 3 days. You can break it out over a whole month. And that was something that, I remember back when I first told Brent about that, I'm like, it's just like, we don't have to do everything in 1 day. Just do it over a month. We need some space, right? And so I'm glad that they're doing that they're spacing it out over a larger period of time. And let's see, where is it? Maybe is it how it works? All this stuff. There's just a lot of text. I don't know where the dates are, but I think it's taking place over like there you go. June 22 through July 3rd. Hold on, let me see. Is my screen is this either this website is okay? There it goes. June 22nd through July 31st. So that's like over the span of a month. And I think that's good. I think that people need to sort of really take this type of a structure seriously for an event, because I think it's kind of the future of the way that things need to go. Now, let me go ahead and turn off my share. Here we go. Back here, close this, and hello again. All right. So, and that's the only sort of new event that I could find on there. And I'm going to go back and get in here. And if any of you guys know of any other events, any virtual events that are being produced right now that you want me to add to this list, I'd love to hear about them because, of course, I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to this stuff. But, Alex or Jane, Cheryl, Rubina, if you guys know of any other events that are popping up, let me know because it'd be nice to put some of this stuff in one place. Yeah, Mark, Carl is in there, Tallheimer and crew. Yeah, they're doing that. And it's one of the things that I don't like about certain events is that it is when it's just kind of the same people over and over and over again, because this industry is huge, right? Everybody's just kind of there are all these different sort of silos that have a piece of it. And in fact, somebody sent me a program. Oh, it was Toddy again, who sent me a program of a virtual event that was taking place in Denver, I think this week. And the program looked absolutely amazing. Little focused on higher ed. None of the names that were on the program were anybody that I recognized over the nearly 20 years that I've been working in this industry. And I love that, and that's kind of, for me, that's what I'd like to bring to TLDC, is just to be able to expose more people to each other, because this is a big industry. All right. So back to some of my questions here. If any of you at all want to pop on and help me answer some of these questions here about in the Q&A, I'd love to go through these with somebody, but just let me know. Now, all right, Alexander Salas, let's do it. Let's see. Let me get you in here. You're invited. This will be great to hear your opinion. And anybody else?
I'm invited.
Hey.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Nice to see you, Alex.
Yeah, let me stand up. I gotta stand up for this occasion.
I have one of those nice standing desks that has a motor that'll lower automatically. Yeah.
That's what happened here.
I was just thinking this morning about how we're all sort of so many of us we're changing our offices into little mini studios, right? You've probably been in one for a while, but I walked into my office this morning. I'm like, I've got cameras and lights, and I've got all this stuff that's all over the place. I'm like, how did this happen? It's not just a desk anymore. It's just a small studio for broadcasting now. So
yeah, that's true. I actually, we're doing Learn and Launch, the Academy, and this Friday morning we just did a live stream. So I think Aaron King and I are the first L&D YouTuber streamers.
Nice.
I'm gonna take that credit, but yeah, this conferences that we're talking about, I think the safe thing is really to cancel even the fall ones, because I just don't see it happening, man. It's just, even if you bring normality back, there's still going to be some human concerns,
Right.
Yeah. So in terms of, I don't know if you saw my comment, but ATD went virtual. Not ICE specifically, but
really? Okay, I didn't see that when I was looking at their website.
Yeah, they created a virtual conference. They just posted it out actually, I just promoted it on LinkedIn because I saw it, and we didn't even know who's speaking or whatnot, but I know Myra Roldan was the poster child there, and I was joking with her about that. Because she didn't even know that. They put her picture on it, and she's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, yeah, your picture's on the thing. So.
Wow, okay. I'm going to have to look. I'll go back and chat, and I'll check it out.
Yeah, June 1st through the 5th.
There it is, virtualconference.td.org. Okay, all right, that's good to know. I definitely want to look at that. Because, one of the things, and one thing that I've been doing regularly that I really love is that in the mornings I come in, get into my office, because, only broadcast once or twice a week, but I do come in and I try to sign up for webinars or, and what I've been tending to sort of gravitate toward are people that are kind of thinking about the future, sort of leadership discussions about okay, what's happening here? What are we going to do? And, and one of the things that keeps coming up, this repeating theme, from people that are outside of L&D, totally outside of L&D, is that organizations are going through a ton of learning right now altogether. They're having to make adjustments. They're having to just change. And I've heard like people quote, what is it? Is it Satya Nadella, I think, from Microsoft, the CEO, and how he says that rather than, being Microsoft being an organization full of like, the smartest people, they're wanting to be an organization of the best learners. And I'm wondering about, I'm going to just ask you this to see if you have an opinion on it, but where would L&D's place be in that, and to help their organization just become more focused on, on that culture of learning thing, of everybody being able to adjust to these massive changes, learn from them, react to them, and continue to be productive during this time of which is essentially a crisis, and lots of disruption. You see anything?
It's an interesting question.
Can help do that? It's a big question.
Yeah, well, I read their book. There's a good book they have, How Google Trains or something like that, or like not Life After Google. That's another one. But there's a book where the guy that ran the HR, who used to be Microsystems, also the head of learning or whatever, HR for Microsystems, breaks it down. But yeah, I mean, the one thing in Google is, how Google is, the building, the remote working, there's a lot of collaboration, technologies enable. Where does L&D fall into that? There's still, I think also to be concerned with some things is that I'll tell people is like, don't get all impressed by names, because just meaning that they have the big name doesn't mean that everywhere in the company they're doing the best practices of training or anything like that. I've seen many companies with huge names and they're still doing stuff that's like 20 years behind. So where does L&D? I think L&D in general should have never departed from a systems-based approach, and should also be performance-based. So, the problem that we have in many areas is that, okay, you land in the job, that's great. But when you land in the job, you kind of got to look at what is it you're really trying to do or enable, not create an academy, a school of type of procedure. So if we keep teaching the subject matter, right, that's just what a school does. And we know what happens when people graduate from colleges, that they can't do the job. They have to go work so they can learn how to do the job. So that's what Google does well, is that they involve people in projects. And people are learning through the experience of going through projects. It's not like you have to go to training to go get involved in a project. Actually, it's an awesome video, by the way, because I was doing research for one of the courses that I'm doing at the Online Academy. It's an onboarding video, a Google onboarding video. And it kind of covers all of that I'm talking about. So it's, they treat interns, when they do interns, they treat them just like if they were experienced workers.
Yeah. So Kim is saying, she's actually asking here more like apprentices, Alex. Is that what you're saying? Like apprenticeship?
It is in a way, but it's apprenticeships in general. Yeah. The old term of apprenticeships was, you didn't know anything. You got to the company and you went through a program. And at the end of that program, then you got the job per se. Internships sort of similar, but it's less structure. So this is sort of like a mixture of the two, where it's not that they're following a format, you know what I mean? It's not that they're following a formal thing like A, B, C, D, but it's more like, okay, you're going to be a developer in this type of thing. We want you to develop this problem for email. So yeah, you have someone sort of like supervising you, but they have the responsibility. So the stakes are there, you know what I mean? Of doing something right.
Yeah. And, and I think that kind of I can bring that back more to sort of like what is happening with our professional development now that, like the event industry is basically, it's put on hold, right? It's just sort of paralyzed. And so let me jump into some of these questions, if you don't mind, about some of these, like what we're going through. So I wanted to know, between you and also the audience, please answer in chat. Were you somebody that attended conferences regularly, 2 or more a year? And if so, will not being able to attend an event have an adverse effect on your professional development? But you're regularly a speaker, so it's probably maybe, I mean, how much do you as a speaker actually learn at events nowadays?
I will tell people the following. I mean, you know, I had a lot of respect for conferences when I started going to conferences.
Yeah.
And then I became a speaker, and then, you know, I started analyzing things, and there's a lot of promotion, a lot of marketing in conferences.
Yeah.
The only way you're learning something at conferences is if you are like, I mean, even from the concept of, let's say that when you went to a conference and every single presentation was like spot on, you know, learning material, learning stuff that you can learn. Even by that matter, you will already be cognitive overload. There will be too much information. Your brain will be a mess and a mesh of things. And you're going to be 3 days going 8 hours at a time, you know, and then whatever, drinking afterwards or whatever the case. It's just not, you know, it just doesn't happen. It's not, it's a great experience. Conferences for me, the volume conferences is social gathering, is the networking, is the things, because a lot of the things you're seeing in conferences is what people want you to see. So it's not exactly accurate with research. And a lot of the people that are talking at conferences are consultants, so they're selling you something.
Yeah. So, let me read some of the replies in chat here. Like Jane's saying, I'm going to really miss the networking and meeting connections in real life. And that's a huge part of it. Absolutely.
That is the huge part, man. Yeah.
And Rubina, I totally agree. They get routine after a while and cyclical. And somebody, you know, like having worked as, you know, a gazillion conferences myself, that's definitely the case. And I would try to occasionally pop into a session. And I could say that, like, you know, over the dozen years that I was doing it regularly, there are a few that might stand out. Usually like the keynotes and stuff or what kind of.
Yeah. I mean, the keynotes have a whole different value, right? It's like a whole, it's like that message of, and that deep thinking stuff that they leave you with something that you're like, oh, didn't see that before. But in terms of when I think of, when you say, you know, like for professional development purposes, I mean, I think that's how you sell it to your boss, but it doesn't really happen that much when you're there. You can take some stuff back that you never heard about, but to me, that's because you're not really like doing it on your own time. You know?
True.
I mean, it's just my judgment on that. That's all.
And well, and I think some of the questions that I have here are going to speak to some of this, but it's like, is this kind of like helping us sort of reassess the value of conferences? You know, now that they're kind of taken away from us, are we going to be kind of revisiting, like, okay, you know, like say for instance, we get the, like, you know, the thumbs up, everyone can start going to events like in November again or October or whatever. Are we going to be as interested in taking that chance? Or it's like, you know, what's it going to take for registrants to actually get in there and start signing up again? But oh, and Rubina wants to jump in. I can have you come in, add you to the screens. And let's see, Trish is saying conferences are so energizing, great connecting and idea generating. Kim saying I've attended just one or less per year, but I feel it will impact me adversely. Being exposed to unexpected ideas is a strength of good conferences. I totally agree. All right, so let's go next one here. Do you guys hey Rubina, nice to see you.
Hey, good morning.
Have you met Alex before? Sorry.
I haven't. Nice to meet you. Yes.
This is what I normally do in like social situations, is like
connect us all together. This is really cool. Thank you.
Thank you. Guys, come on.
Yes. And this is my COVID look, my no makeup. Oh gosh. What we need to move to in the industry is having like the things that come on when our kids are using our phones and they can do an animal and that's what I need. I need that right now. But anyway, so I actually, you know, in the current gig I'm in, I'm working from home anyway. And now half a dozen other people started to join me. And so that's been just really, really interesting. And they're like, how do you keep your sanity? How are you keep going? How are you keep motivating? Because I'm like, this is actually normal for me, except for the fact that I also have my kids in the house now and my husband in the house now.
Yeah.
And so that's been just my shuffle. But in terms of, attending conferences or not attending conferences, personal judgment, personal experience, up to you and stuff. And I don't know how long this stuff is going to last. I know one of my conferences is pushed to September that I'm supposed to be speaking at. But we'll see what happens. And it is nice to have it live and in person. It's small, it's intimate. And so I love that feel of being able to network closely with everybody else. However, if this continues, is online the way to go? And it may actually just be, and I agree. So that better to be safe than sorry, I guess. I've seen folks building Google Hangout groups and stuff to just keep connected to their friends and their peers. I created a Hangout group with our internal IDs that we have within our department. And so that's been great because we're all in different state organizations throughout the state. But it's nice for us to connect. And then we have a meeting probably quarterly. And then that's actually shifting to every 2 months now, just because we need to meet a little bit sooner to talk about these different changes that are happening so fast in our field. And we just finished one yesterday. It was great. It was about a couple hours and everybody got online and everybody just shared stuff across from their own computers and their files and who's doing what's going on, what are the changes you're seeing, how are you organizing things, or how are you learning different tools, what help do you need with. And so with this ID group, we have about, I would say 20 folks actively, 40 altogether. And it's been really nice and resourceful because I am in a very, very small team of just 2 to 3 folks. And some of those folks are just single by themselves. And so it's great to share resources and information. And we're using Google Suite. And that's just amazing across to just, here's a folder, here's this, here's that presentation. I did do the learning solutions thing. I was supposed to go to the conference. They canceled. They offered for me instead to go online and participate in a small slim down piece. And they offered about like 5 courses. And so I, went online, just listened while I'm working, and it was great. It was really nice information. They gave out the PDFs for that afterwards. So I thought that was really nicely set up and structured. And even the folks were there, they weren't recorded previously, they were live, and then they had they used either Zoom or WebEx, and we were able to ask questions to the presenters right there and have those answered. So I thought that was a nice way to do it.
I definitely think that things are going to be moving more in that direction.
Oh no.
Oh, what's that?
Sorry.
It's all right.
And I do think, and I want to talk, maybe Alex, sometime we could talk about this, because as a YouTuber yourself, which that is a whole other universe, right? There's all this stuff that's happening as far as YouTube is concerned. Like even for me, when I just even uploading stuff to YouTube now is, there all these messages come up where they're just talking about how they're just getting, saturated with people throwing content out there. This kind of speaks to my next question. Do you guys have a need to upskill or reskill because of the pandemic? And maybe Alex, you can answer this, like your skills as a video producer, is that becoming more top of mind for you? Is that something you have to focus a lot more on because there's a demand for that kind of content? Are you kind of seeing that at all?
I've seen the demand in that. I mean, personally, I've been doing it for a while already. So I wasn't. So the thing about, so in my situation, guys, like I say, I'm not that foreign to what's happening because I used to work in an office, but I've been working remote now for a couple of years. So it's been like 3 years that I work remote. I've been doing a lot of digital content on my own, and YouTube. I know YouTube because I've been using it pretty much every day. And the one thing I didn't know, the one thing that it was new to me was streaming. So that's a whole different game. That's like running your own little TV station, using open broadcast studio and stuff like that. So, which is something that's funny because gamers, YouTubers that are gamers, they do it all day. They have no problem. And that's the example I picked from. So I think probably one of the greatest contributions to learning, period, in the last 10 years has been YouTube, man.
Yeah.
Sure.
So let me ask you this, so when you needed to learn how to do the live streaming, did you just go to YouTube to learn?
Yeah. Well, I'm a tinkerer. So my first thing is I find out what, first of all, you have to customize the channel, right? So I customize the channel to try to get that enabled. Then you start learning about, oh, no, well, you can't do it yet. We got to do it in 24 hours because you got to have this requirements and whatnot. And so you learn about that. And then I always was intrigued by the people that were doing screencasts, and they were green screening themselves, and you only saw their alpha on the video. So I was like, oh man, how do you get that going? So I recently published on my channel, StyleLearn, run a loop around using Camtasia, right, with the green screening in Camtasia. And then I found out about Open Broadcast Studio. And then, I was familiar a little bit with streaming because of LinkedIn Live, which I did a couple of things, but the experience wasn't as good there. So when I started doing YouTube, man, I watched a few videos. There's always, interesting enough, now when you do a Google search, you get Google's results, but you get YouTube videos in the feed too. So that was like, oh, I'm gonna watch that right there. Click. And then boom, oh, that's what I was missing. Great. And so technically, if you think about it, it's like performance support.
Yeah. No, that's great. That's a good way to think about it. Yeah. And personally, I don't go to websites as much anymore for resources because it seems like websites are just kind of compromised with ads a lot of the times, right? Every time I try to look at something now, it's like, oh, I got to get this pop-up out of the way. I got to get, where do I find the actual content that I need? It's like, there's just like so much of it that is like sponsored content that I can never find what I want. But if I go to YouTube and watch a video, it's like, oh, here we go. I can grab it, right then and there. And so, Rubina, how about you? What have you upskilled, or have you had to upskill or reskill at all?
Well, I've had to switch some skills I'm still doing what I'm doing. I would say now 75% of the time I'm building asynchronous courses. But there is a shift going towards live webinar type presentations, and we have live trainings that have been stopped completely, and we have a bunch of instructors who still want to present material live and in person. I mean, that's how they've created their curriculums, and that's how they have their delivery for right now. So there's a hesitation to have it be asynchronous because that takes time and several months to build and develop. And so I get that. I understood that. And so I wanted to be responsive to say, hey, there's other solutions there, and we can build things for you to address this current need that you're having. So that people can get certified and do what they need to do. And so there's, things like I've got to just brush up on Adobe Connect and or Zoom and or Saba and or Google. Like, we're looking at the different delivery platforms and then just trying to figure out which is the best one for a certain audience. And we get questions like, all right, so how many licenses do we need to have, and how big of a class? Like, what's the class size
Yeah.
limit, or
Yeah.
what's the license limit, or what's the, like little things like that, that we're working around. And I thankfully have a really great partner who is my Saba support, and LMS, and knows all of this stuff too. So so I look more at the presentation and and some of the live facilitation of it. He actually does the live facilitation of it, and then and so it's a nice equal pairing that we can offer somebody. It's tricky, and then there's always troubleshooting.
Yeah.
When things just don't go the way they need to go to, and you guys are doing live stuff, so that always
Yeah.
happens. And
Personally, I think
Yeah.
I had a doctor's appointment the other day, and my doctor was asking me about, he actually wanted me to volunteer to work at his church to help with their live stream.
Mhm.
And also my son's like kindergarten teacher, totally like kind of needs that help as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
And so, and I think that's where I've just seen probably the biggest switch, is where people just need to be able to understand how to use the technology. But let me move on to this next question. I didn't realize it's already like 8:42 on this end. But is your opinion of conferences going to change going forward? Are you going to be, are you going to keep them a critical part of your, professional development if it's something you already do? Are you just itching to get back to things, or are you going to actually reassess? And here's the thing that's kind of interesting for this. I know, Alex, you're a regular speaker at conferences, and there's, you're a type of guy like where you pretty much probably don't go to an event unless you're going to be presenting, unless you can go for free, unless you might get your hotel and stuff paid for, all that stuff. Right. And,
I agree.
I know that you speak at events as well. I'd love to hear from other people that maybe don't do that as much, but how are you gonna, what's it gonna take? Like if you get invited to a conference to speak, are you, like say within the next 6 months, is it something that you're gonna be like, yeah, I'm gonna do it? I'm just, or is it like,
No, I got to give it a good 6 months, I think, before, if anybody's having a conference in the next 6 months here domestically, I would say it's a risk that's just not worth it. To travel right now and to go around right now and stuff. And for me, I get a little bit more personally involved in it because my husband is a physician, and I feel for him, and I hear about things on the whole different side from the medical community and healthcare. And stressing them out, stressing those workers on the front lines, it's not worth it. It's just not worth it for me. We can wait. 6 months really is a drop in the bucket. Waiting another year or two for things to get back to normal, it's a drop in the bucket. It really isn't that worth it. Looking for things online is definitely a possibility. And for me, for learning and development, if there's things I need to learn, I can always go to YouTube. That's always my go-to. But otherwise, I look up and see what free webinars that there are offered, free and or paid. Right now during COVID, I've heard that there are a lot of things that are being offered for free, which is really nice. And so that's been really beneficial. And I can continue doing that and continue to grow. Conferences really, unless I'm speaking at one, not necessarily a deal breaker for me, professional build or networking or otherwise. There's other ways to do it that I've already kind of latched onto. Like LinkedIn is my main platform. And I love, connecting with as many ideas as possible, and just, I feel like I'm okay.
Alex, how many conferences do you usually speak at a year around?
I usually hit about 3 or 4, but no, I'm taking coincidentally, I was taking a break this year because I've been wanting to write a book, but now I'm doing the academy, so it's like, okay, whenever I get there. No, I'll say just like Rube said, it's like my background is also medical. I was a hospital corpsman in the Navy many moons ago, many pounds ago too, and I study health education as my bachelor, so epidemiology was a little bit of that in there. So this stuff is not what people think, that we're just gonna be like, oh, hey, May 1st, let's go, right? I know there's a lot of people out there that are not, but this is a whole different animal. It's a whole different game. I mean, you're talking about people running around with no symptoms.
No symptoms.
So you know, in terms of our population, you got to think about the magnitude of that, right? 330 some million people. And depending on where you're going to go, I mean, I'm talking next year for even considering going anywhere, period. Like,
so Alex, what is it going to take, you think? Just like, so you're saying next year, what would you have to sort of see? You know, I'm really curious about that.
You know, like it was mentioned, I think, you know, I need to see about a period of 6 months
flat
where this is not an issue, where this is, you know, where you're seeing deaths not being reported anymore, for example, and you're seeing then critical cases like in the hundreds and stuff like that. You can't, you know, logically think, oh, well, that's all right. It's only 20. It's only like 20 some thousand people die, whatever, you know, or, oh, there's only like, I don't know, 700 in some cases in Florida, so you'll be all right. No, it's not like that. So, you know, and then what are you going to do? You're just going to go out with masks? I guess if you were a raver, you were ahead of the game, because you gotta wear some when you go to the EDM concerts. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh.
I think if we do a TLDC conference, we must have a mask, something to do with there's masks being built now that have like smiley faces on them. It's hysterical and creepy at the same time, but I think we need to have that if we're gonna.
I think we need to open a new business. We all need to open a new business right now.
Right.
ID masks.
ID masks.
ID masks. Yeah.
There you go.
At the end of this mask, you will.
Yeah. There you go.
That's a good learning objective.
Yeah.
You know, because I've been curious about that, because I'm wondering, you know, just especially about the events that are still on schedule, and you know, and you know, personally for me, I actually work for a business that had a huge, that I currently work for a business that has a huge, that had a huge conference business, global events, you know, like over a dozen a year. And, you know, 3 weeks ago, completely killed that side of the business.
Yeah.
It's gone. And we ended up having to lay off like 75 people.
Oh.
And that's insane, you know, and they're not rookies, you know, they know what they're doing. They're smart. They're like, this is not going to come back anytime soon.
Yeah.
And so, and that's really like, it's sort of hard for even me. Now, here's the one thing I'm wondering, and I'm actually, this isn't part of the question, but would it make a difference if people started organizing smaller events? What if they were like, you know, max 25 or 50 people? No. Still too risky.
You know, with this thing, the weird thing about it is correct me if I'm wrong, being asymptomatic, all right, so you may not be you may be healthy and it may not affect you as much, but being asymptomatic for a period of 2 weeks, whoever you're coming in contact with, wherever you're going for these conferences, when you're getting on the flight, when you're getting off the flight, whoever you're coming in contact with may be in a vulnerable population. And so you unknowingly, unwillingly will infect somebody else and commit, you know, it's sad to say, but someone needs to say it. Someone else may die just by you walking around. So you don't want that on your, nobody wants that on their conscience or on their plate. I don't think so. So that's because this thing is so new and so weird. Honestly, I think my line might be until we get a vaccine. Until we can have a vaccine that's efficacious and people are not dying. This one is so weird. It's not like the flu. It really is not like the flu. If it was like the flu, we'd all have a different stance, but it's not.
Yeah, it's and just to say, apart from what we're talking about, which is all you know, facts. I think you're getting to know me already, but the main part is that the prognosis is completely unpredictable too. So
exactly,
you know, first was saying, oh no, it's just old people and fat people. I guess I was already dead. but
That's
but we're talking like, cases where like an 18-year-old died,
yeah.
a
Hmm.
20-some-year-old died, and so I mean, unpredictable stuff, and I like to believe that I have natural occurring Venezuelan bacteria that protects me, but that's just
I know. I was hoping for that Filipino
yeah.
immunity too, but
Oh
not.
my gosh.
I had that joke. It's funny. I had that joke. I was in Afghanistan in 2001, and the first time we encounter this bread they make over there, right? It's like similar to the stuff that now you see in the stores everywhere. But back in '01, you didn't really see it. And this is, right after 9/11. So everybody's just digging on that bread. Boy, it's our local bread. We're like, oh, yeah, man, this is good stuff. Put the peanut butter from the MREs on it. Yeah. And then the whole medical unit went down with some kind of viral gastroenteritis. I was the only one that didn't go down. So I was joking about the bacteria, but then I was the one doing IVs on everybody, doctors, everybody, the team and everything for like 24 hours.
Wow.
So yeah. And then at the end of 24 hours, it hit me. So then I went down for like 17 hours.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Oh, man. Yeah.
So I don't,
it really, I feel lucky that I get both of you guys' perspectives on this, because I also think about how important data is to L&D nowadays. And, early on, I remember seeing Trish Ewell just like posting nonstop about all the different models, like in response to to what was happening with the virus and the pandemic. She was really kind of just doing a ton of research and posting this stuff. And it's like, yeah, if we take data seriously in our own space, in our own professions, then we should be taking, this data seriously as well. So I'm glad to hear that from you guys. But I kind of want to wrap up with this online events. Are you guys signed up for any coming up? Are you guys planning on signing up for any? Are you a part of any? And so let's go with you, Alex. I'd like to hear, because.
Well, my perspective. I'm not speaking and not really doing it. But that's because, I just, again, it's that thing of the same people and talking about the same stuff. So how many times can you hear about storytelling? How many times can you hear about microlearning? How many times can, so
True.
And I've done the research on that stuff too. So it's not, it's not that I know it all, but it's just, if you're reading about it and if you're seeing it, then you know what's up. But and the other part that it has been concerned about a lot of these conferences is that, like, they're put last minute. They're basically, to me, they seem like a straw to not lose money. So it's like, oh, well, all of a sudden this came up. Wow. It's just like today, everybody's a virtual training expert, So it's like, I can help you. I assume I can help you with everything. So yeah, beware.
Yeah.
Beware.
I'm working on personal projects right now, so outside of work. So I've got that plate full. Did have an offer recently to do something else, but I just had to turn that over to somebody else because now is not the right, with the kids in the house and my husband in the house, and it's like these are jobs and a half. So right now is not the time for me to be able to invest in the focus. I would say if there's newer folks out there, go, if you have downtime, go ahead and skill up. You can never it'll never be a bad thing to skill up in something new. Try something new, learn something new, and just play with it. It's always great to do. Right now you have the time to do it. Go ahead and invest in yourself. Books, online, webinars, archives. Go, if you were going to go for a conference and you were going to pay for $1,000 or more to go there, go ahead and pay the money, become a member of something, watch the archives of stuff, because you have that time to do that now. And then that'll be your investment in yourself, and go ahead and do that. That's the best thing that you could do, I guess. So not for the foreseeable future. I'll see how things turn out. If there's more stuff online, maybe I can give a course or two or class or two, and I'm happy to come back here and present some new things too on TLDC. But other than that, no, I'll just wait. I'm okay.
How about you, Alex? What are you building? You've got something building. Can you pitch it right now?
What was that?
Can you pitch what you're building right now?
Oh, yeah. So I created the e-learning launch academy. So it's sort of a project base for learning designers. So it's not, like let's learn about ADDIE by itself. It's you're applying all the different techniques of instructional design based on instructional science and using the creative process of development stuff. So the current project right now is the onboarding project, and that has people creating a video, but using the analysis portions and the design portions of their instructional design to create that. They go by 6 weeks at a time. You can join at any point. And then we have the YouTube channel, eLearning Launch Official, where every Friday at 8 o'clock in the morning, we do a live session. So this morning we did one on pricing, for example, like how to price your e-learning if you're doing freelancing or you want to pay for it.
It's live streamed?
Yeah. Was that?
It's live streamed?
Yeah, live stream. That's live stream every Friday morning so far, 8 o'clock, 8 to 9 Eastern time. And and that's what's going on. I would say also to save you $1,000, go to Google Scholar and look up the theme you want to find. You'll find some research papers in there from people actually doing research.
Yeah.
And not trying to sell you stuff. But you know what, Luis? I think you know what we need? We need a free conference.
Yeah.
We need a free online conference.
Yeah.
And I wanted to participate. It doesn't have to be moneyless. You can make it free and get your sponsors.
Yeah.
So.
I'm up for
I totally agree.
I'm throwing this ball back to you, buddy.
I've been thinking a lot about it. I have something in the works just because we do this all the time. And I do think that like even right now, there's so many people that are kind of losing their jobs or, are just needing to kind of reorient themselves and just get, sort of back into the swing of things. And, what the heck,
let's do it.
I want to put something together, but thanks for throwing that out there, Alex. And I will definitely hit you up. What I would like to do is sort of like, I would like to learn more about becoming a YouTuber because sharing that way, I get so much from YouTube that I feel like that I would love to learn from somebody more. So,
you guys, if you love UX, if you love to know where ADDIE came from, all the things that are related to learning and development, you guys know that I also run the Off the Cuff blog and post podcast for happen to be president this year. How's that? No on-site events. I've been president since last year, but I just dropped the link on that as well. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff in there. I mean, the original purpose of Bloom's taxonomy. You've been using it wrong for 20 years. Go figure it out. It's in there. ADDIE, you've been doing it wrong. Go figure it out. It's in there. I'm telling you.
I love that.
You'll be like, oh, for real? Yeah. So yeah. All right.
I will definitely post these resources. You guys, thank you so much for coming in. Thanks for our online audience, Kim, Jane, Carlita, Christiana. Thanks you guys. And sorry I'm kind of slow on programming. People are kind of slow getting back to me, but I have an accessibility playlist that's coming up next. So I have that series building out now. So you'll see more of that in the future. But until then, we'll catch you guys next time. Thanks again, Alex, Rubina. Take care.
Thank you, brother.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Safe, everybody. Bye.